so hard. My name is Thomas Staffley. I'm a film critic for Variety and RogerEbert.com. I think I have a song. I'm a film critic for Variety and RogerEbert.com, and I'm so honored to introduce you to the co-writers and co-directors of this wonderful movie. Please welcome David Siegel and Scott Martinez.
Thank you very much.
And I know you're expecting Naomi Watts, and she will be joining us hopefully in a second. But unfortunately, our four-legged movie star Bing is not going to be here. He's fine, he's doing great. He's just adjusting to the big city life, and he's getting his movie star rest. So.
Thank you all very much for coming.
And sorry to keep you waiting. There was some confusion. I think we thought you were seeing trailers before the film, so it wasn't scheduled exactly as we thought. But it's nice to see you all, and thank you for waiting.
And you're here. Hello.
Hello.
Let's start with this, wonderful story that came from Sigrid Nunez's books. How did this book find its way to you, and what was it about the story that spoke to you that you wanted to adapt it?
I read the first review of the book in the New York Times by Dwight Garner in I think it was February of 2018, and because it was a review, the story was very encapsulated, so that the spine of the story of a woman, winding up with this giant dog after the death of her good friend and mentor, and these two people, or these two creatures that don't really want to be in the same space and are grieving the same thing, wind up finding not only space together, but it begins a kind of slow burn love story. And I think we have Ms. Watts here with us now.
Hello, yes. Please welcome Naomi Watts.
And this movie would certainly not be what it is without Naomi.
We only just started. We were talking about the book.
Yeah. So we read the book, and we fell in love with the book, and we fell in love with the story, and the story of this love story between a woman and a very, very big dog. And that began the process of getting to know Sigrid, the author, and adapting the book. And because of all kinds of things like the pandemic and the writer's strike and the SAG strike, it took a while to finally get the film up on its feet. But we did, and we shot it last year. And it's we keep saying it's been a 6-year labor of love.
Thank you. And Naomi, I want to throw the same question to you. Were you familiar with Sigrid's book previously, and what were you most excited to explore through this character, Iris?
Is that working?
Oh.
Hello? Oh, maybe it wasn't fired up. Okay, maybe this one's working. I knew of the book, but I had not read it. Unfortunately, these days, my reading has definitely taken a hit since children and reading scripts and stuff. So
Writing your own book.
and but I was very aware of it, and I knew of the story. Liza Chasen, a friend of mine who I'd worked with before, who was one of the producers, brought the screenplay to my attention, and I chatted with the guys. I loved the screenplay right away, and that led me to read the book right away, which I loved as well. And I chatted with the guys, and in that initial conversation, we talked about the themes of the story, and then we got to talking about the cast, and the first thing they said was Bill Murray, and then I couldn't see it any other way. I was just determined to make that happen, and I got completely obsessed with the idea. And having worked with him before, I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll ask him. I don't know if he uses the same number. Pretty sure he doesn't reply that easily. pretty known for that. But he was very responsive right away, and so it resulted in me hand delivering a hard copy of the script, along with a hard copy of the book and a nice bottle of red.
He happened to be in New York.
Yes.
While we were having that
Yeah.
conversation, he happened to be staying in a
Yeah.
downtown hotel.
He has a house north of New York, but he happened to be, like they were saying, like actually in Manhattan.
And speaking of New York, this is probably one of my favorite New York movies in a while. I love how textured the New York film it is. It's very classical in a way, the way you embrace the tree-lined brownstone buildings and these little pockets of intellectual corners. Just every little thing that we love about New York movies. What was it like for you to bring New York to life in this movie in that sense with those qualities?
David and I have been living in New York since about 2004 or 5, I think. I went to college here, but we started our career in San Francisco, but we moved here my sister was raising her kids here. I think that was the real reason. But we both love this city and have gotten to know it quite intimately living here. And we scout on our bicycles when we're making a film. We look for locations, and so that's a big part of our process. But I think both of us have grown up thinking about New York through the movies about New York that we've kind of grown up watching. So that was a big part of our imagination of New York. And even just living here every day, I think that's part of how we see the New York we live in, is just thinking about the movies that have been made here. So I think
And the New York is so enmeshed in the book, so we really wanted to try and find a representation of New York that felt right for this story, as well as the details and the small kind of, like Thomas was saying, the kind of intimate moments in the story, but also the big scope of New York simultaneously.
And I really love the little nod to Midnight Cowboy and this cover, Iggy Pop cover of Everybody's Talking.
Yeah. Once you hear Iggy Pop singing that,
with a great pain on the screen. That was natural.
I almost thought maybe Bing was singing that version. It really made a lot of sense. And let me tell us a little bit about acting alongside this wonderful four-legged canine co-starring. New York as a city is unpredictable by itself, and I'm sure that was an added challenge to be the big dog in the city. I know you're a dog person, so what was that like?
Yeah, I am very much a dog person. I can't imagine a life without a dog. So much so that I thought, oh, well, this will be so easy. And but then I was told that the dog trainer, Bill Berloni, wanted to have this very comprehensive training program so that we would be super ready by the time we got to the set. And it was quite intensive. I remember the first day, he said he wanted to meet twice a day for 20 minutes each time, with a 4-hour gap. I was like, really? Can't we just do 40 minutes and be done in one day? But it was very well thought out, because you don't want to get the dog too exhausted, you don't want to get me spooked, and then very quickly we learned that we were going to be on a faster track than perhaps some people, because I'm not spooked by slobber or fur or rolling around on the floor, and I've done dog training with trainers for previous dogs in the past. So I adapted very, very quickly, but we didn't even leave the house. I have a basement in my apartment, and I was able to work within the confines of that. But once we went out to the streets, it was a whole new learning curve, because you've got all kinds of interference, like you say, to not just traffic and bikers, but you've got people who are obsessed and just literally want to swarm you. And, he may as well be Mick Jagger. It's like, oh my God, the dog is so incredible. And they want to ask questions, and that happened when we were shooting in Washington Square Park or whatever place we were on, 6th Avenue. And then there's also other dogs who are not as well trained. And they're like, wait, who's this dude? He's still got his gear and everything. Swinging left and right. So, so you've got to be aware, and I had to be fully in control of this 150-pound dog. And you know, I'm only small myself, so, and Bill said, look, if anything happens, you know, let go. And I'm like, I am not letting go. Okay, he can take my arm with him, but I am not going to be letting go. So the training was absolutely necessary. But to answer your question about acting with him, he was the most present creature you can imagine. Right? So some actors are not always that present, and they're not always going to listen. And, you know, those ears are built for, you know, they're onto every sound, every vibration, every expression. You know, he is looking for rhythms and inconsistencies, and so he's fully authentic, and that was really powerful. It was really wonderful.
And Naomi was just an amazing partner with us, because she was so game to try all the things that she's talking about, and she and Bing developed such a beautiful relationship over the course of the shoot. I mean, it was never difficult having the two of them in a scene together. And as she was saying, I mean, that dog really paid attention. Like, he really was really present, you know, during the shooting. I mean, it sounds a little bit silly, but he's so alert, you know, and he's so sensitive to other people, and it was really beautiful thing.
Was there something, maybe a memory that was unexpected about working with Bing that you kind of had to be present and navigate? Anything?
Yeah, there were lots of little things that we had to, you know, shift around. You know, like we had this scene with In Constance of wife number 2. Her apartment, where she was like, get off the couch, get off my zucchini or whatever it was. And he didn't, you know, he had been told to sit on the couch. So when he was being told that he wasn't, he got a little confused. And then, you know, after his confusion, he felt like he made a mistake, and then he's like, oh. He is an incredibly sensitive being.
The scene where Iris comes home and she finds the apartment wrecked, you know, on the first day that she has the dog, you know, Bev, his owner, Bev Klingensmith, who was intricately involved in the making of the movie, warned us, like, if you scold Bing for 2 days, he's going to be sad, he's going to sulk, he's going to feel like he's, you know, done something wrong. So as Naomi approaches the bed, like, you know, the camera is on Naomi, so as she's coming toward him, you know, he's not actually in the room, and she's saying, bad dog, bad dog. When we're on her back and she's approaching the bed, she's saying, oh, Bing, so sweet.
We use the sound for, you know, you learn tricks. And then on my face, I said, make sure the dog isn't there, so I don't have to yell at him.
It's funny how much they internalize scolding and they actually take it seriously. I want to talk to you about the idea of adaptations, because you've done literally adaptations before. I'm thinking about your work, What Makes New, Montana's Story, and how did you approach this adaptation? When is usually a balance for you where you want to be, of course, loyal to the source, but you want to make sure that it's cinematic and it translates to a different medium? What was your process on this one?
I think it's probably different with every book. I mean, this one, I think we knew from the get-go that there was a lot of what we loved in Sigrid's book, a lot we'd have to leave behind. I don't know how many people have read A Friend. And so a few of you, it's a very literary, you know, kind of novel. It's full of, you know, kind of the interior thoughts of the narrator. None of the characters have names. It's very kind of free-ranging and, you know, kind of stream of consciousness a lot about just her having ideas about writing, about writers.
But throughout, there's a narrator. There's an internal dialogue going on.
So we really were just taking, you know, kind of the story, the kind of through line, kind of spine story, and using that to kind of tell our story. So in that case, then we had to think of, okay, so how do we get at some of the things that we're losing? You know, we had to invent a few characters and kind of create some situations that weren't in her novel, but still trying to stay true to what we loved in the book.
And the voiceover was an idea, because we've never had a voiceover like that in a movie before, and it's not a voiceover that explains the story. It's not giving you exposition about what's going on. She's talking to Walter, and then slowly over the course of the movie, she stops talking to Walter and she begins to talk to the dog. And that was something that came directly from the book, and much of the voiceover is directly from the book. It's really a Sigrid's, the rhythms of that dialogue really comes from Sigrid.
Was she involved at all during the adaptation, or were you checking in with
No.
her, like, this is something you want to change, or?
Well, she's become a very close friend, but at the first meeting when we discussed adapting the book, she said, I don't know how to write a script. I don't know anything about writing a script. So, go with God. I just don't. And, good luck. And but because of all of those delays that I spoke about earlier, we would have regular dinners with Sigrid, and she was a fantastic sounding board, because not so much because of the input that she gave us, but she would just listen to our ideas about what we were thinking about changing, what we were thinking about keeping, and she was just a great support.
There was a moment when we finished the script and we thought, well, we should probably show it to Sigrid. Like we were kind of nervous about it, but it seemed like a reasonable thing to do. So we sent it to her, and she was very sweet about it and told us she liked it. But I've read since then, after she's seen the movie and liked the movie a lot, and is a big supporter of the film, that when she read the screenplay, she didn't really get it. So she's just a supportive person and wanted us to do well, I think. But anyway, she likes the finished film. So.
Yeah, and one of the nicest things she said to us about the movie is that it really feels like the book, and that was really gratifying to us, because there are a lot of differences, but again, as Scott was saying, that the central story, the spine of the book, is really the spine of the movie as well.
And that spine is really just so human and universal. This is a movie about grieving, a movie about love and friendship and loss. I'm wondering if, in reflecting while you were making this movie, were there specific things in your own lives that were happening that were maybe parallel, that made the story speak to you the most? Maybe we can start with Naomi.
Wow, such a deep one. Yeah, I think, I guess the parallels for me and Iris is just being at the age I'm at, and wanting to make sure that I hold relevance, and as I move into the third chapter of my life, and I think she's really struggling with that. She's got a writer's block, and she's quite a lonely woman at this point in time. I don't feel lonely, mercifully, right now, but I've known loneliness, or have had times in my life where I've not been connecting with the people around me as well as I wanted to. So, and she's already experienced micro versions of grief, but this is a macro one. I mean, I think at this age, we've all experienced grief by now, little versions, whether it's losing a job or a family member, or, a grandparent, or even a parent, and kids leaving the house, or, there's those little things in the preparation for something much bigger, and then she's sort of slammed with it, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. So I don't know. I feel very different than Iris in many ways as well, but there's little ways in that I found in terms of relating to her. I found her very, very relatable, and much like people I've known in my life as well.
Scott and I have been working together for a very long time, 30 years, and it's the only way we've known how to make movies. It's the only way we've gone about it. And you can imagine over the course of that time, I mean, we started out as friends, we sort of became best friends, and we're sort of like brothers now. And consequently, we have experienced a lot of big life moments together, the death of some of our parents, and the loss of in relationships. And I think that's sort of what drew us to the book, because I think we could identify and relate to the bigger themes of the book in a particular way together, because we had shared those experiences together, and that was really the launching point for us, and I think it was a touchstone for us as we went along making the movie.
You want to add anything?
Well, I mean, there was one particular, I mean, it's strange to put the two events kind of together when I say them aloud, but my father died at the same time that David lost a pet of his that was a very integral part of our kind of daily lives, a dog called Tiger, who was, I joked with David that Tiger was his soulmate, but just the most special animal that you could imagine. And those two events kind of happening in the same season, really, it was a big thing. And I think when thinking back on that time with David, it was really like, we've been close for a long time, but that season, I think we bonded in a way that is like profound. So.
Not sure how much time we have, but maybe we have time for a couple of audience questions. I see a hand over there.
Hi, how are y'all doing? I have one serious question and I have one little silly question. So the serious question is, what was the process like for selecting an actor as amazing as Bing? And my silly question is, was this other chair meant for Bing over here? And how was that supposed to work? You know?
Two Bing-related questions. I'll just repeat if you haven't heard. What was the process of selecting an actor, a great actor like Bing, and was that chair meant for him?
I haven't seen Bing sit in a chair yet. He's gonna do a lot of stuff, but
We with Bill Berloni, the trainer that Naomi referred to earlier, we did a kind of nationwide search for the dog. We reached out to kennel clubs, and our producing partner Mike Streeter was very involved with this, and to dog groups. And Scott and I with Bill went around we saw maybe 30 dogs in person, as well as getting hundreds of submissions. And Bing was the last dog we saw, because we knew once we met Bing that he was the right one. The way that Bill worked with him, and maybe most importantly is that face that you all just watched. I mean, he really has a soulful face. Like you feel like you watch Bing watch you, and you feel like you're going right into his into his mind. And so that's how we came upon Bing.
I'm sorry he's not here for you all to meet him. He really is a special creature.
He really is sweet. I think I'm getting the wrap-up sign. If I could actually ask our audience to remain in their seats, because we have to run to the next meeting. Thank you so much for
Thank you very much.